It's an interesting noise. Oh, you got all these frets in.
Are you catching me doing a stainless fret job on a neck I built? I just cut the ends off, and guess what it did?
Hurt your muscles?
It hurt my muscles, as the guy
says. Did it hurt your joints?
I know, it is a bitch cutting the ends off of stainless. You're catching me towards the end of this side. Okay, you got to step back so I can get in here.
Oh, I would never have thought about that.
So, I need a file here, a particular file. Where in the hell is it?
I see a file right here.
Where? Not
that pretty one.
No, that's not the one I need. What in the world
You lost your file?
have I done with that particular file? I know it's got to be in here and I'm just not seeing it. Oh, I see what happened. The end, it fell off of its handle, so I couldn't find it. Okay.
File.
All right, so the process of fretting a neck that I just built, the way I do it, so of course I build the neck. When I'm ready for frets, the first thing I do is I put 3 coats of shellac on the board. Then I sand that. Okay. Then I put 3 coats of nitrocellulose lacquer, and I sand that. Then I fret the neck. Okay. When I'm done with these ends, I will roll this over. Okay. Then I will tape this, and I will put 3 coats of shellac. First, I'll finish sand all this. I'll put 3 coats of shellac on the back, sand that, 3 coats of the same lacquer from the same mix. Okay, and I'll let the tape roll over a bit, and I'll sand that between each time. And then the neck will be on its thing out in the spray booth, and then I will, after that, put 3 coats over the whole neck to even everything out. So you're only ever filing 3 coats off of the frets, and there's almost no buildup between the frets, and you get everything's nice and smooth before the fret job. I found no better way to fret. You fret directly on the wood, then you'll have a mess in the middle trying to put the finish in. If you do the finish first and then fret, that's not good either, because then you can't roll the edges, because to get these nice crisp lines, which I don't quite have yet, but I'm getting real close, you need, this has to be sharp. This has to practically cut you for that to happen. And then you roll this between the frets after, okay? But, so right now, where am I? I'm at the point where I'm not going to file those ends anymore until I start to take that back corner away. And any marks I'm putting on this don't matter. I'm going to roll all that. Not ridiculous like a badly fretted guitar that's been fretted. People roll fingerboards sometimes so bad just to mimic a guitar that's been abused and fretted wrong and over sanded on the sides and everything. But you don't want that sharp, you know. But there's a lot to a good fret job. Not just on a new neck, but on an old guitar. People don't fret guitars the way they used to anymore. I know that sounds shocking, but unless you were in this business doing this for a long time, you would never know that all these guys that refret, you can go to Nashville and those guys will destroy your 50s Les Paul. They'll fret it with super glue. That's how they put frets in now. That's how everybody does it. Fret jobs went through changes through the decades because nobody ever corrected this bullshit, okay? This doesn't work. This works once. A refret is there's no way to refret a guitar 100% perfect like it was the first time you did it. It's impossible because of the design of that. But
He rips out the...
yeah, the fret job shouldn't be, glue should not be holding your frets in. Okay, and then once that happens, you've got a lousy fret job. I fretted hundreds of 50s guitars, Fenders, Gibsons. I know what those frets were in like. When you pull them out, you realize, oh my God, they're so tight. Now I'm going to finish this side first. You realize they are just so tight and so cleated, what I call cleated, that you just touch the string to the frets and the whole neck's vibrating the body. When these guys have these big loose slots and they're just super gluing frets down and holding it till the glue dries and then pouring the glue on the side, you see them do it. It's all they do now. It's all they know how to do. That's a shit fret job. Those and when people say stainless frets sound bad, well, they're right. If you put them in like that, they'll sound even worse than regular frets because they're very hard. So you need them things. You need them things to be vibrating the whole neck. They need to be really slammed in. You need to know they went in, not just push them down and wait till the glue dries. And then in the 80s, all these Luthier schools were teaching people how to rope, because no one could figure out how to put frets in, is really what it was. And they still don't know. You watch 100 videos a day on YouTube of people putting frets in wrong. Or let's say not the way they used to put them in. And that's getting real nice now. So you want no mushrooming. You want clean square ends everywhere. I don't need no angle tool because I've been doing this so long. I know the angle that I want. All right, and then I'll go over this one more time, and I'll call this done till the sandpaper, and I'll do the other side. But let me do this real quick, and then I'll do the other side for you. You know, that file keeps disappearing today. Okay. I'll do this about somewhere between 5 and 10 more times before I actually ever file these frets out to turn this into a playing guitar, because after the paint job you re-go over this and it changes this. And then I let the lacquer dry for a few months and the neck shrinks, and then you got to redo this again on the sides. But this time you'll be doing it over the lacquer. I had to clean that right there. I don't know why that looks like that right there. Oh, that was for my dirty hands getting the clamps on. I'll wipe this down before I tape this up with the wax and remover, the wax and grease remover. Okay, now when that's all sanded out and steel wooled. Okay, my first fret needs a tad more. Okay. But yeah, in the 80s, they were routing them out and then epoxying them in. And those were some of the worst sounding freaking guitars. Refrets done in the 80s like that. They were teaching, yes, this is how you refret a guitar. And it was like, oh my God, you're ruining that guitar. You pull the frets out of a 50s Les Paul or something, they're in so tight, cleated. There's hide glue in the bottom of the slots, because one stupid thing Gibson did was they didn't cut the slot to the radius of the board, okay? So under the center of the fret is a shitload of space, because they cut the fret really deep once and figured when the radius goes on, it'll be the right, and it's still too deep on the sides. It's like that much after the fret. You see my frets, how close I get? Those frets are seated, and the tangs are seated. I don't want no airspace in here. That's what, that's what a lot of the big problems are. The slots are too deep. Okay, you got to back up just a bit so I can get in here. Okay, so of course I've erased my my corners again. But that's how you do it. You don't want those corners getting flatter and flatter. You want to keep rounding them so that you can actually see where you are and how perfect you are. And right there, that's perfect for when I sand this out. Of course, I'll round the corners again, but here's a side that's been done nothing but cut. Okay, clipped off to hurt your muscles. Okay, with stainless. And I'm going to start that a big sucker like this. Okay, and okay, you got to get back just a bit, Michelle. This is. And another little tip: every file, the real old ones like this, these are made out of stainless frets. Are hard, okay, but nothing's as hard as this. People make knives out of this. File steel is one of the hardest steels going. Okay, it's high quality steel that's been heat treated very hard. It doesn't care about stainless. But any file you buy, I don't care when you bought it, if you look at that file real good, it's either going to go this way or slope that way. And what I do is bend my ends. I probably bent this end when I was 20 years old. Okay, and you can see that's a nice old file. And and this one I know because it's the bend. You can see where the bend was, but I cut it off because this one gets in the way on certain Gibsons or whatever I was fretting in the old days, where the handle gets in the way. But it will never change. Just like a piece of wood. When you're making a neck, when you start planing that board, you look at that board, the way it's either sloping this way or this way. This way is the side that should be the fingerboard because it counteracts the strings. And it'll never change. That neck will always have the propensity to go to that direction. That's why you pick the wood that way. And these files will never change. And of course, you don't want the file turned down. You want the file turned up when you're filing. But see, it's going to take a long time to get what you saw on the other side. I'd been working for a while before she came in. Okay, I always check my end to see which side is up. But a lot of information on fret jobs because this whole super glue thing, I can tell a guitar play it for 2 seconds and know the frets are super glued in and they're not cleated at all. And it's just, I don't know, I'm so sick.
Hate it.
I'm so sick of seeing it. It's like, that's not how you do a fret job. It's not how they did it in the 50s and 60s. Some of them used high glue, some guys, and some used wood glue, and that's just to seal all the moisture out. That's not to glue the fret in. That shit doesn't stick to steel. Okay? And another thing, even another little tip. When you're doing a stainless fret job, and you're from the old school, you bend your frets over so they work in and the ends stay down really nice. Then you do a stainless fret job for the first time and you realize, oh shit, you can't do that. Because whether you're hammering or using a press, it will not straighten that wire out very much. The wire is so hard, it's always going to want to be higher in the center, okay? So I leave them a tiny bit higher in the center because I know my fret slots are properly sized to cleat those frets so that it doesn't have to be any glue at all. When you press them in, they will slam in and they'll have that tone, okay? Now, how do you know? If you've got a 12-inch radius and you bent the fret to 12 inches and you pressed it in, how do you know it really cleated? The only way to know is if the center was still up a little bit. Follow me here. Because if that center springs back up, it ain't right. And then you got to fix it. You got to redo the tangs on the frets or something. If you want this kind of fret job, even in stainless, you don't go as far over as you would with nickel silver, but you want it up a little bit in the middle. Okay? If you lay the turn fret over, well, here, you know what? Here, look, I have a piece here from this fret job. Look, I can show you exactly how much. This is the only way you're going to know that fret bit, okay? You see space under the center where the dot is? That's just enough.
Just
Okay?
a hair.
If you go more than that, it will spring even a cleat, okay? Because this stuff's really, really stiff. But you need to have a little more in the middle. Because if you do not, you will never know if that fret is in only as good as a super glue fretter or if it's truly cleated, because that center will suck down hard, okay?
Even with the stainless.
Yeah, and then you'll know it's in. You release the thing and you look and it's dead on, okay? And it's never going to come up because it's cleated, and then the wood glue is going to dry around it and form around these tangs, and it's never going to move. And then I'll come over the top and hammer the middles a tiny bit with a hammer, or I'll just press 3 or 4 more times just to crush it in, okay? But if you can't see that, picture this. If your frets were up high and you were super gluing it and you put it in and you release the handle, the middle will come up. Oh, you'd have to put the handle back down. You watch those guys, that's how they do it until that glue dries, right? But more than likely what they do after they've learned how to do the wrong way that they're doing and they've figured out some tips on it is they bend exactly to the radius, okay? So they just press it in, pull the glue down the side, press it in. You don't know. You don't know if that fret truly cleated if you can't see a center spring up. Because if the center didn't spring up, it's cleated and you did it right. And that's the test of how to do that and not fail, okay? But this video is about a lot of things about fret jobs, but predominantly right now it's about end filing. And this isn't much different if this was a used neck, unless it's like a 50s Gibson Fender that's been fretted 10 times by idiots, and it's all rolled over, and you'll never get a crisp edge, never, because you see how sharp that is now. That's how a good fret job's supposed to start, and then you roll that after, you know, and so if you ever refretted this guitar, let's say, that flat from the width of the fret would still be there, okay? You wouldn't roll that there, ever. Because that's how you get nice, crisp, clean, non-mushroom looking ends. You're really in my left arm, Michelle. See, I can get a little more finesse with this file after the big one, right? And then this is just a file with a, I don't even know what I put on that, a piece of wood that I glued to that about 50 years ago, probably. I've had this file so long. And now I start coming in grabbing a tang. I don't like to grab the tang with these wide files. I like to stay this way with them.
You don't want to rip them?
Well, you don't want to scar the neck, you know. That neck still needs a touch of... and this is one of my big boy necks. This is not a tiny little neck. This neck is... 2 and 360 at the last fret. and 1 3/4 at the nut. It's about 136 here, or 138 on this one, and 980 there, right behind the first fret.
It's like a mirror on the end.
Well, yeah, but that's because this is a finer file. But like sandpaper, you go heavy, light, heavy, light. That's what chases something. If you get all the fine lines in, then this stops being effective. Okay, same way with this. If you get too many grooves in something with heavier sandpaper or a heavier file, it stops being effective. So these are little tips from somebody who's been doing this shit for a long time. See, now I'm getting a good bite on this because I'm starting from a fine edge from this file. But I don't know, that it takes a long time to do a side. I don't know that you're going to want to hang the whole time here, but
21 minutes.
okay, that's enough.
Seconds.
But anyway, if you want to learn how to do a proper fret job, take the frets out of an old guitar and just look at how they're in there. And here's an important thing, okay? Vintage guitars are the vintage guitar market. I don't mess with it anymore. It's been a long time. But in the 80s and the late 70s, there was things like, okay, if a guitar's refinished, oh shit, it's refinished, it's worth this much less. And there's other stupid things, because a lot of these guys don't know shit from Shinola. But there's rules, general rules to the vintage guitar market that actually come from someplace. They come from someplace that really means something. Like a refin. A refin is not a good thing. A refin, it could be if a guy knew exactly what he was doing and finished it because someone stripped it. What are you going to do? You bought it at a guitar show. If it's refinished right, okay. But it still doesn't have the value of the original finish. The fret job. Remember that from the old days? That's refretted. That guitar would have been $1,000. Now they're $90,000. But it would have been, that guitar would have been $1,000, but it's only worth $600 now because it's been refretted. Well, look at the fret job. It's been refretted 2 or 3 times. The edges are all rolled over. The ends are sharp. There's nothing you can do about it because there's no fine line to file the edge of the fret to. But here's the real reason why. As much as those guys don't know shit from Shinola, they know tone. They pick up a guitar and play it. It doesn't sound like the one that hasn't been refretted. Oh yeah, those frets are all worn out. But guess what? That guitar sounds better. It sounds better. This is where these things come from. It sounds better because those frets are cleated. And the second the string, you with the dynamics of your hands, the strings against the frets, you're vibrating. That neck and the body are reading that. A super glued fret job, they're not reading anything. The frets are not connected. They're not. It's super glue and a loose thing. Okay, it's just not right. It's not. And I know it's going to sound crazy because it's all you see people do. Even the big Nashville shops, super glue, press the fret in, super glue, and it's like, what'd you do to that guitar, man? Pick it up and play it and listen to it. But most guys probably never even heard a guitar with pressed frets. How many people played 50s and 60s guitars? That really not many. You see them all day online, but how many people have actually picked one up and played it with the original frets in it? Okay. Useless information about fret jobs. Peace out.